There's a reason why I always say to make your projects faster and to do more projects, because as you do more and more of them, it steadily becomes more easy to comprehend the subject matter that you're portraying in your work and to convey it to the audience. See, I started out writing big time in 2017, January of 2017. Before that point, I had written a review kind of thing every 3 or 4 months, if that. I wasn't really writing in any professional manner, and by professional I just mean on a consistent basis with a lot of passion towards it, with a goal, with focus. Now I do that. I get at least 1 or 2 things out in a month, which seems kind of lackluster for most people's standards, but compared to what I used to be doing, that's much more. And I've also tied writing into speaking, making it to where many of my scripts have a off-the-cuff voiced element that I might have done in the past, so I'm combining the two mediums. And I've realized, in the past when I've done like a week's worth of videos where I would have a written video out every single day. I did that just this year, a month or 2 ago. I've realized that as I write videos, because I've done so many of them by this point, now we're almost into 2019, by the time 2019 is here, January of it, that would be exactly 2 years of writing. And I've noticed a sizable change in how I write, not just in the fact that I know not to use lots of filler, that I know not to have irreverent tangents that don't add any meaning to the overall text. These are rules that I always understood, but now I just kind of know not to do them as I write them. They don't show up on the page to be edited later, they just don't show up at all, because I know in my brain that that isn't supposed to be there because I've hammered it in from doing so many posts. But I've also noticed that not only do I have that knowledge subconsciously now that when I type out a stream of consciousness post that those rants often just don't show up, I've also noticed that when I do edit my work, I edit it very fast because I see that I'm using certain words that don't need to be there, or that I'm wording something in a way that doesn't sound quite right when it rolls off the tongue, and then I'm like, oh, there's a problem here, and then I just, press the key really fast, and it's gone, and then I write something better. And it's like, the speed with which that information is conveyed is much, much higher than it ever was when I first began writing, even just half a year ago. Hell, even 4 months ago. I'm doing it faster now than I ever did. And I think the reason for this is just because I've been doing it so much for so long that my brain just recognizes these patterns now, that you're not supposed to word things in this way or else it doesn't sound as good in the context of the text. And I've always had an eye for wording that doesn't sound quite right. I've always known, okay, this wording right here isn't going to work right here because of this other wording that you did, or it outright doesn't belong at all. And I've always been able to recognize this because I just have very good instincts when it comes to understanding what needs to be placed there, what sounds good, etc. It's just knowing how to change it is something that I needed to learn how to do. That was the thing that took 2 years to really hone. And now that I have that, I'm seeing it unfold right in front of my eyes. Like I've said, the ability to edit and the ability to write has just been getting faster and better as I've continued to do it. So now, when I backspace again and again on that fucking keyboard, and I want to reframe my thought, the thought just comes immediately. I just immediately know how to rephrase that sentence, because no longer is it a matter of me having to sit there and look through a thesaurus or look through someone else talking about a similar idea and really think about how to word it. Now, I just look at what the problem is in my wording, and then I change the problem. The problem is no longer there, because I recognize the mistake as soon as it happens, and then the mistake has been corrected. And I wouldn't be able to do this if I did not focus so much on learning how to write as fast as possible and learning to write everything. It's as Stephen King had once recommended to younger writers: if you write all the time, eventually you'll get good at it. And that's exactly what I've been seeing in my own work. Now, by no means am I calling myself a good writer. I've made some good-ish posts before, but I am certainly saying that I've made a lot of progress, and I think that progress is something that can be learned from for people who are just starting out or haven't necessarily heard these pieces of advice before.